Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Russ Rantz podcast. Seriously, I appreciate it. If you're wondering what this podcast is all about, really it's about you. It's for you. It's about having conversations with ordinary people and yet hearing their extraordinary stories. It's a platform that hopefully challenges you to challenge yourself to change and improve. Without further ado, here's the rant. Enjoy. We're going to make this brief because, first off, it's been a while and don't want you all to think that I've peaced out. At the same time, this has been something that has been on my mind for a while and didn't on purposely neglect you guys all. Welcome to the Russ Rantz podcast. It is always a pleasure to talk to you. It is always a pleasure to be a part of your day, whether that's first thing in the morning or at nighttime or on a road trip, whatever. I am pleased that you are still sticking around and you still enjoy hearing from me and listening with me. So we're going to jump into something really quickly here. First off, last week, very little notice to you guys that I was not able to do a podcast. It's my job. It was a really good business trip, and I was just feeling really emotionally drained. There's a lot of changes going on in my life, which I do not regret. Change often leads to growth. Change often leads to progress and stretching. And I am the type of personality that needs to be stretched. And so last week it was just too many things going on, and just needed to rest. And that's okay. I know that none of you guys would ever get down on me for that, but I just want to let you know that is where I was. We are going to jump into this podcast, though, because I have let busyness or chaos or fatigue, for lack of a better term, get the better of me. I've always wanted to try to improve being a communicator and keeping you guys in the know. Now, there is parts of my insecurities and parts of me that feel like, you don't really care or you don't need to. You don't need to know all the things, or I don't need to really update you because none of you guys really care about it. But it's an exercise for me where I want to try to keep people in the know and keep you in the loop. I think that's just a good practice for keeping people on board with stuff. So here's what's going on. I have had this feeling in the back of my mind that the Russ Rantz podcast is an incredible tool. It's been an incredible method and platform so far where I have pushed myself. I've pushed myself to broadcast. I've pushed myself to produce. I've pushed myself to try to market or try to reach out on social media just to keep people in the know, to try to create a buzz. I've pushed myself to seek out people to interview. I've sought out people I never thought I'd talk to, even though I see them all the time, or, businessmen in far off countries, if you know who I'm talking about. The Russ Rantz podcast has become a platform of which I have grown so much. It has been 9 months, and I believe around 800 streams total. Just a crazy number. If you told me back in January that I, just with a simple platform and a simple podcast, would have guests, amazing conversations, people commenting that I haven't heard from before or in years, saying how they enjoy my podcast or they enjoy the thoughts that I throw their way, that really brings me so much satisfaction, so much reward. And I've been reflecting. I've been trying to be very careful at avoiding burnout. And when I say burnout, I'm not talking about like just the podcast and, it's so much work. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about raising my 3 kids, having a healthy marriage with my beautiful wife, just growing in my career, in my full-time job. And then just experimenting with media, experimenting with the podcast, experimenting with YouTube videos, experimenting with other things. And I've come to some conclusions. And I want to invite you guys in on this process because you guys have been there for me since the very beginning of this journey to start. And I think that it's important that you guys understand where I'm coming from. And maybe it helps you. Maybe it frustrates you. Maybe it confuses you. Or maybe it just gives you some thoughts to ponder. So these last few months, the Russ Rantz podcast, whenever it's been time to produce or get an episode ready, there's always been a buzz and a fight to seek out guests, to seek out ideas to convey to you guys. And you guys know that I'm also my worst critic. I push myself very hard to be better, to be excellent, to try to rise above and continue to give you guys good content. And for lack of a better way to put it, I feel like I've dropped the ball a bit. I feel like I haven't fought for guests as hard as I would have in the past. I feel like I haven't fought for clear and concise and ordered and linear ideas as much as I would have emphasized in the past. I haven't just been driven to be creative as much as I thought. Now, in all due respect, the Russ Rantz podcast was never meant to be this extravagant, mind-blowing platform. It was meant to create a discussion, right? To create a conversation. That's what the Russ Rantz podcast is all about, is it's a conversation. And I think it's done that to a degree. It's caused people to give me feedback and say, hey, really appreciated your thoughts on this, or hey, this made me consider this, or I never thought of it that way, or I disagree respectfully, but it was good to hear your take on it. And that's what it's all about. I love that. I love the contributing ideas to a pool of dialogue. And that's what really makes the Russ Rantz podcast so satisfying. At the same time, I feel that my capacity as I'm growing as a person, as I'm growing as a, I don't think performer is the right word, but I think that there is something inside of me that wants to continue to grow and continue to expand. And so I decided to take a step back and assess two things mostly: my time and my passion, or my ideals is probably what I'm going to group those two words into. Why am I saying that? Because time is so limited. I can't compare myself. I struggle with comparison, with comparing myself to others so often. It's just my personality. I want to always be better. I'm my harshest critic. So I'll look at someone else and be like, why am I not achieving something like that? Or why am I not doing it like they are? And I really enjoy watching streamers. I really enjoy watching YouTubers because that's something I'm passionate about. I love connecting with people on a platform. That's the whole reason why I started filming these podcast episodes. This is only the third one, but there's just something different about seeing someone on camera, seeing someone and connecting with them and believing them. It's just a lot more intimate than just audio. And so I'm happy to try to blend those two worlds together for you. And so I can't compare myself to people who have more time than I do to work on stuff like this, who maybe are single or they have just a different relationship or a different schedule where they're able to make more and more time to pursue their dreams, pursue their goals. I have very limited time. And I remember working in the insurance world, my former employer would always say, time, just like money, can always be budgeted and adjusted to accommodate your goals. And he's right. You absolutely can. There's not an excuse. That's not what I'm giving. I'm not giving an excuse. What I'm saying is I'm budgeting my time. I'm investing in other causes that I feel are worthy. My family obviously has to take precedence for sure as well. And that goes and changes on the fly due to needs and sometimes emergencies, sometimes opportunities that arise. And so you have to budget your time. But I've always tried to block out a time and place to produce this podcast. And Paula has been so supportive, my beautiful wife, ever since January. She's like, just pick a day, give me a timeline or a time limit, and I'll work around that. You just can't be disorganized. You can't not plan. And I thought, okay, you're absolutely right. So I'm going to budget it out. So Tuesdays were my day. My Tuesday evenings were always my day for the podcast. I'd record for an hour, half hour, and then I'd produce an episode, okay? And you guys all know that because I'd release, unless I was really organized and had a guest planned in advance, or I'd recorded a couple episodes ahead of time, you would never know what the episode was about until the day of, because that's typically when my thoughts would be gathered. And I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can definitely talk about this. I know that this is for sure what I want to talk about. And I'd write down some thoughts and I'd give you the Russ Rantz podcast. Not very organized, but that's the way I did it. And that's why I kind of not had to do it. I definitely could have pursued it and attacked this podcast with better greatness. But, my personality and just with life and learning on the fly, it's how it rolled. And none of you guys complained. You just knew that, I'd record something Tuesday night, release it Wednesday, and have at her, and I hope you enjoy it. And so I had to assess my time. Tuesdays are blocked out. And then I had to assess my passion or my ideals. You guys heard my last podcast a couple of weeks ago, my dream job. And that's ultimately to make a difference. That's to make a personal connection with as many people as possible and inspire, love on, and see them succeed. Nothing brings me more joy than seeing someone that I've invested in and just bringing them joy seeing someone that I've invested in and them just reaching their potential. There's something just so satisfying about that. I love it. I love it. And so my ideals and passion are to reach. And then I have limited time. So I've assessed both things together. I got limited time and I've got a passion to reach more. What do we do? So what I had to do is I had to take a step back and say, all right, the Russ Rantz podcast, I've got consistent subscribers or viewers or listeners, whatever you want to call them. You guys have been so amazing. I'm so humbled to be like, man, if I pump out an episode, it could be crap. And thankfully you guys would call me out on it or you wouldn't listen to it in the future, but you would listen to it right away. And I would just see the numbers jump up within a week. And I'm like, man, that's how many people consistently listen to this podcast. That is so cool and so humbling. I don't deserve it, and obviously you guys are making a free choice, but I'm grateful you believe in me, and I got to keep saying that because that's really my mentality is just don't take this for granted. You know, man, people want to hear you. People want to believe in you, and that is just so encouraging. So the Russ Rantz podcast has its reach. It has its potential. And then I realized, though, that I tend to want to reach out to people that I ironically don't relate to right off the bat. I talk a lot about passion. I talk a lot about purpose. I talk a lot about being intentional, hard work. You're going to always see it. If it's ever just a random Russ Rantz, it'll always gravitate towards your dreams or your future or how to be better, right? I'll have a guest on that's also something meaningful, purpose. And it's the way I roll. It's the way I naturally gravitate towards something of greatness. I naturally gravitate towards pushing myself. But I realized that when I took a step back and I thought about who do I want to reach? Who do I want to build up? Who do I want to inspire the most? It's people that don't want to be inspired. Ironically, it's people that are trying to distract themselves. That's why I talked about it in Look in the Mirror a few weeks ago. You know, people living for the weekend or living to escape. I want to reach those people. And as I thought about it critically, I'm not going to reach those people hiding in my comfort zone, my bunker. See what I'm doing? I'm just tying in all these recent podcast episodes. Man, that's awesome. I'm sitting in my bunker. I've established this podcast. It's comfortable. And yeah, I'm using new software and doing different things. And you guys heard about that. I'm improvising and I'm learning on the fly, which is awesome. But I am struggling to justify progress in my podcast if it's not even towards the people that I feel that I should be reaching out to. So I had to think about that. So I won't delay this, but I have decided to take an indefinite break or leave. Now, indefinite just means maybe I'll feel inspired or have a guest and we'll do the Russ Rantz podcast, but I'm going to take a break from the Russ Rantz podcast. But wait, there's more. Okay, we're going to take a break from the Russ Rantz podcast because of time, not because of lack of desire, not because you guys were not encouraging, not because I didn't see the difference it was making in your guys' lives. Don't misunderstand that. The Russ Rantz podcast has already given me so much. You all have given me so much. It's amazing. But again, the Russ Rantz podcast with the limited time I have and the limited reach I have right now and the people I realize I really want to reach out to, I need to be purposeful in trying to make changes. Andy Stanley, a great leader, I love his leadership style, says that you got to cut the good for the great. You got to cut the good for the great. And the Russ Rantz podcast is good, maybe even great for some people. And it helps you. It definitely helps me. It gets that creative communicator vibe out of me every week. It's a nice place to vent, or it's a nice place to hone my interviewing skills, bring a guest on. And again, you guys have been so positive. It's not been negative at all. But there's just been something inside me, something building up inside me where I'm like, I got to do different to reach the people I really feel like I can make a difference with. So then I assessed, is YouTube something I want to do? Am I an editor? Am I a really good entertainer that way or a video producer? Truth is no, actually, YouTube takes a lot of time as well that right now I feel like I don't have, or I don't have the capacity to invest in that time. And maybe I'm going to eat these words down the road and be like, okay, you can totally make time. You just have to like prioritize it and draw out a map and visualize it. Sure, that's fine. I'll eat my words later on. But right now, I just didn't feel like YouTube was the main area. Now, there is some exciting stuff on the YouTube front. It's been a year in the making, you guys, but I have about 4 videos I've almost finished. It's called Does Russ Hate? I want to plug this really quickly because a part of what I do want to do is not waste those videos that I work so hard to make with a lot of other people actually helping me out. It's called Does Russell Hate? I'm hoping to launch my first video, Does Russell Hate Do It Yourself? in the next week, beginning of October. I'm really hoping to do that for you. You guys can find me on YouTube at Russ Rantz, spelt as it is and sounds. You can find it and you're going to see it. I have two old OG videos on there in addition to my podcast videos. You can click on them. They don't go anywhere. One of them is like 5 tips on how to survive a bathroom break without a phone. Again, that was me just trying to experiment a year ago and trying to be a YouTube entertainer. And one of them is just me producing a video because I was tired of procrastinating. So this has been a long process of trying to figure out where I belong. Okay, so YouTube, 4 videos, does Russ hate? Let's move on really quick. The last platform I feel like I'm going to try to experiment and invest in right now is Twitch. And now this might come as a shock to a lot of you guys. I don't play a lot of video games. I also don't know what I'm doing. But again, the people that I feel, again, to reach out to is the Twitch community. It's the, pardon me, it's the people that I feel like, they want friends. They want to hang out. They want a community. And sometimes, real life or whatever isn't the place where they found it. It's not safe for them, or they just don't enjoy it, or they prefer to just be on their computer. I'm an extrovert by nature. I love going out and meeting new people, seeing new things, doing new experiences. Well, not all the time, actually. If you know me enough, you'll know that actually I struggle with doing new experiences. But the point is that I realize that if I have limited time and I have limited resources, I got to use it and I got to max it out and try something different. And so I've decided to try to stream. And I'm not a big video game player, but there are a few games out there that I feel like I can play, and they're out of my comfort zone for sure. So let the hysteria ensue. But I actually had my first stream the other day, and I'm hooked. I got to say it. I didn't know if I'd have anyone watching me or hanging out with me, and I had about 5 to 6 people at max, and 3 guys that stayed with me for 2 hours, and I played my game. Pardon me. Played my game, they made jokes, and I was hooked. I was like, this is instant connection. This is an instant ability to make people laugh and enjoy themselves. Now, you might be saying, well, Russell, that's not very purposeful. If all you do is just make jokes or play video games in front of people and they watch you, where's the value in that? Relationship and being able to give advice or being just even able to comfort someone or support someone, you don't do that on the first date. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go up to this girl or this guy that, you're on a blind date, your first date, and just start immediately asking them, how can I be better for you? Or how can I speak into your life? Or how can I make you inspired? You're not going to do that. You need to what? Get to know them. You need to build relationship. You need to build rapport. That's how it works. That's how it happens, right? It's not that simple. And so I think, guys, for me, especially, this is something I realized that it's a slow game. It's a long game. And the podcast, the Russ Rantz podcast, wasn't necessarily a rushed attempt. It's just me going right for the jugular of what I'm passionate about. And a lot of you guys responded. It's so awesome. A lot of you guys responded, gave me, gave me feedback on like this topic or this topic or this interview. And I'm like, man, there's a real hunger out there for more. You guys are the demographic that thankfully, hopefully you're looking for stuff to grow you. You're looking for stuff to push you. You're looking for stuff to build you up. A lot of people out there, though, guys, in this world are not. And I can't save everyone. I'm not trying to say I'm a savior or I'm a hero, not at all. But I feel in my gut that I want to be someone's friend who is struggling to make friends. I know that sounds really super cheesy. You might be like, come on, Russ. But for real, I feel like that's something that I feel like right now is what I should do with some of my spare time. And thus, with the spare time and my ideology and my passion, Twitch right now makes sense. Is it perfect? Is it going to last forever? I don't know, guys. See, that's the hardest part, is I was trying to marry myself to the podcast, and I was feeling really guilty about even thinking about moving on from it, because I'm going to tell you a brief scenario. Back in the day, when Paul and I got married, and, I had a pretty decent office job after I'd worked retail. You guys heard about that. And Paula's pregnant. She's about to go on mat leave. And the office job just wasn't good enough. It wasn't going to pay the bills. It didn't pay me very much. It gave me a lot of expertise and training. Definitely taught me I could be an office worker, an administrator, or work in that kind of capacity. I never thought I would be able to work office work. And so that's what it really did, is it painted for me what I could do more of, and then I had the skills. That's kind of what this podcast did. is it showed me what I was capable of, but it also wasn't completely what I wanted to deliver on. But it got me dreaming. It got me believing in myself. That's what the podcast did. That's what this job did. I was working. This was the job before insurance. Then what happened? Then I decided I had to resign because it wasn't going to pay the bills, and they weren't going to really budge too much more on pay. They were going to give me a raise, but it just didn't seem like there was anywhere to go from there. And so what did I do? Is I resigned without a new job. It was crazy, but I knew that I had a few months left before Paula gave birth to our firstborn son, and I knew that I had to make a deliberate effort to try, to try and find something better. And I did, and it was just by happenstance. Someone reached out to me on email. It was my boss in the insurance industry, and I had an interview. I went to it because I was desperate, had nothing better on the table, and he's like, hey, I really like you. I think you got a great personality. I think you could be a great salesman. If you pass these exams, you're in. And I studied. Paula said, believe in yourself, believe that you can do different and better, and I did, and I got the job. And I'm not going to relay that job to this Twitch thing, but I'm just saying the scenario is the Russ Rantz podcast taught me I could do more. And it taught me that I didn't have to beat myself up or procrastinate anymore, but that I could stretch myself and maybe be successful. And the Russ Rantz podcast showed me that people believe in me. They also showed that I wasn't off base, that people do enjoy listening to me, and that I have maybe a gift or just maybe a knack to hold attention for a bit. And if I can use that to help some people, that's huge. But you guys are a safe place. I'm not saying you're all perfect. I'm not perfect. But again, people who want to grow are going to listen to this podcast. People who want to escape are going to go where the video games are, where the entertainment is, where the distraction is. Do you see what I'm saying? So if my passion is to grow and love on people that are having a hard time being loved on and growing with, I'm not saying everyone on Twitch is broken either. So if someone eventually listens to this, wow, is he thinking I'm a charity case? No, I'm not at all. I'm not at all. There's just people out there that just want to have a good time and watch. Like, I'm not trying to make this a big deal. What I am saying is, though, that I believe that with my time and my passion, Twitch is the place to go. So you can feel free. It'll be probably on Tuesday nights for now. Same time slot for the podcast, probably from 9 to 11. I'm just going to stream a game and just hang out with some people. But I'm believing that there's going to be some opportunities for really cool talks down the road. But right now, people got to get to know me, and I got to be consistent. And I can't do one or the other. I thought I could. That's actually why I really had struggles with guilt and beating myself up, you guys, is I thought, well, I should be able to do the podcast and YouTube and Twitch if I want to, or just experiment. Right now, my capacity is to take one shot per platform. And I took my shot for the podcast for 9 months. And it's worked out so well. It's given me the tools I need. It's given me the self-esteem and the belief in myself that I need to take this next step. And again, thinking about it long and hard with how much time I have and with my personality and giftings, YouTube would be the perfect blend of both. A lot of video production and skills that way, but I'm not there. And so what do I got? I got Twitch and the ability to play games very terribly. And if that can help someone or build a connection where I can eventually just be someone's really good friend or just be the support maybe that they need occasionally. Again, I can't save everyone and I can't be the savior, but maybe I can be a bridge to better stuff. Maybe. But I think that's worth trying for. And if it doesn't work, I've learned, especially even with the podcast, even if Twitch doesn't work, it's not a failure. I'm still here growing. I'm still here trying to do different things. I'm still here trying to push myself. When years ago, even last year, I was afraid to pull the trigger and I didn't want to fail, so I just didn't do anything. Look how far I've come. Hopefully you've come far as well. But I really struggled to move on from this and make this announcement because I'm kind of scarred with Paula saw that I job hopped a lot when we first got married. Some of it was out of necessity. Some of it was out of impatience and belief that I was meant for more. And this job is below me. I was pretty cocky or pretty arrogant as a younger man. And so she really didn't believe I was going to be a stable income provider until I did the insurance job. And even though some years were really rough and I hated it, and other times it was great, people who listen to this from the insurance agency job also know that, no times are perfect, no job is perfect. But, it was a good time and it taught me a lot, but I stayed with it for almost 5 years. And Paula confessed later on that taught her that she could believe in me. If I needed to jump a job because it was the right thing to do, she would trust me, but also she would trust that I would work any job to put food on the table, and I did. And so I was worried that with the podcast that I was reverting to my old ways of job hopping because I wanted something sexier, something better, something more entertaining. And I just had to put that to rest, you guys. I've given this 9 months where I've tried to pump out 2 to 3 podcasts a month. It doesn't sound like a lot, and definitely was sporadic, and I definitely had some breaks in between, but I tried. And I think it's 23 or 24 episodes in. I don't think that's something to stick my nose down at or anything like that. It's been over 9 months, and I've grown and met some great people. So I just want you guys to know that. Don't feel abandoned. I still believe in you. I still want what's best for you, but I'm also trying to do what's best for me and grow me. And that can come across as selfish, or that can come across as understanding. And I just want you guys to know that. So this was not really supposed to be a long podcast. It's just going to be a quick update on this. I'm trying to grow. And sometimes that means saying goodbye to something that you started that's pretty successful, to try to take a risk for something else that might not be. It might blow up in my face, but I think that I'm still going to grow more by doing that and having something blow up in my face than playing it safe, maybe not growing at all anymore, stagnating with this podcast. Maybe I wouldn't, but can't go with what ifs. You got to go with maybe this is the right thing. This is what my gut is telling me right now to do, and I'm going to take that shot. I'm going to try to do it with excellence. So you can look me up on Twitch at Russ Rantz, spelled as it sounds, RussRantz. Tuesdays, I'm going to try to stream from 9 to 11 on random games. There's chat. I think it'd be good. But I wish you all the best. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the relationships that I have with you. I'm thankful for the encouragement that you've given me. And I'm thankful for this journey. I think that me being this uncomfortable for this long is a really good sign that I'm at least doing something right, which is trying to grow. So I believe in you all. I look forward to where we're headed, and I'm thankful for the milestones we've hit in the past. So let's crush it. So for now, this is Russ from Russ Rantz signing off. I wish you all the very best. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Love you all. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Russ Rantz podcast. Feel free to like and subscribe to support. I love hearing from you, so make sure you send me any feedback and show ideas at russrantzreal@gmail.com. You can find me at Twitter at RussRantz1 and Instagram at RussRantz. Thanks so much, and I hope to see you next time. Seriously, take care. Bye-bye.